Welcome to our channel, Gray Matters. We are two neurodivergent ladies who fixate and need to share, and we've created this channel to do just that. Check out our podcast, Fixate Today, Gone Tomorrow, for some deeper dives. Why Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? Maybe a better question is, why did Wayne Miller set up his church and school in Florence, South Carolina? Let's talk about Interstate 95. Part of our theory around the death of Mica Francis Miller is the belief that JP and others in his orbit were involved at some level with an organized crime group. Organized crime groups frequently engage in a wide variety of illegal activities and operate across different types of criminal enterprises, including drug trafficking, human trafficking, money laundering, fraud, extortion, and much more. I-95 is a 1,900-mile interstate that runs from Florida to Maine, which leads to Canada. Multiple major cities are connected to I-95. Because of this, I-95 is a notorious corridor for all types of trafficking up and down the East Coast. Police know this, however, they cannot pull over everyone.
Since January 1st, the Nash County Sheriff's Office has stopped more than 1,000 cars along I-95. Drugs is often the target, given that this 1,900-mile-long interstate runs from Canada to Florida, 50 miles.
They can only stop drivers who have broken a traffic law, but they do look for subtle red flags during traffic stops.
That is killing our Americans today, mainly fentanyl, is coming from the border and coming across and coming up and down our interstates to be distributed into the communities.
This team conducts 4 times a year.
This is probably one of the most dangerous jobs in law enforcement, for the simple fact is you don't know who you're dealing with.
It often starts with spotting the speeder.
But what we're looking for is the unattended one or the one running 100 mile an hour out here.
But as you saw earlier, a simple stop could yield more.
We get people out here that's wanted for violent offenses.
This blue car, driven by
I-95 runs through Florence, South Carolina. Let's briefly talk about the history of Florence. The town was originally developed as a railroad terminal and served as a junction of 3 major rail lines. During the Civil War, the railroad moved troops, supplies, artillery, etc. through the town. During World War I and World War II, Florence flourished due to the railways until the 1950s. From then to the 1970s, Florence leaned into its position as the midpoint between Miami and New York, which happened to be 2 of the largest trafficking destinations in the U.S. It is an intersection between I-95, running north and south, and I-20 running east and west. And Highway 301 is yet another highway attached to this hub. Today, regional airports allow Florence to continue to be a major transportation hub. In 2010, Florence launched a massive redevelopment project of the downtown area in order to bring more commerce. Florence is a major location for the pharmaceutical industry, which we will look at more closely in the future. The largest religious denomination of the area is Southern Baptist. South Carolina has long been a nearly perfect location for smuggling back to the days of rum runners, with its long coastline and many docks. The easy access to the ocean is linked to various remote locations via its river systems. With access to this type of activity, it's not difficult to recruit locals to assist with unloading and transporting quietly.
Ricardo is one of thousands in a decentralized network of freelance smugglers utilized by the cartel. It's an army of ants who avoid seizures by funneling smaller packages of meth in cars and motorcycles, maximizing efficiency and minimizing risk, with drivers who have less direct ties to the cartels themselves.
While we are discussing I-95, let's briefly talk about the Lumber River State Park. This is the park in North Carolina where Mica's body was discovered. The river is 115 miles and runs through the counties of Robeson, Scotland, Hoke, and Columbus. There are 2 access points to the river that are an hour apart and 24 boat launches. Lumber River is the only black water river in North Carolina. A Blackwater River is a slow-moving river that goes through forested swamps and wetlands. The river flows to the Little Pee Dee River, and then the Great Pee Dee River, then to Winyah Bay, and finally to the Atlantic Ocean. The river intersects the railway in Lumberton, which also intersects I-95. Interestingly, JP's associate and friend Tom Winslow owns a large tract of forested land that backs to the Lumber River, about 10 miles from the park, and is right on the state line.
Okay, so let's talk about this. The Lumber River is the physical border of Winslow's property, at which point it crosses the state line from South Carolina to North Carolina. Remember, once illegal goods or people are brought across state lines, any crime associated with it becomes federal instead of local. The fact that this can be done at the edge of his property might be significant. Under the cover of night, any goods could be unloaded along there. From there, small rural roads, mostly just used by locals, many of whom are impoverished and are looking for any kind of income, can be driven up to I-95, which has a major exit at Florence, the town we have heard about repeatedly in this tragedy. Also, don't forget about that plane that was purchased or donated. This rural land has plenty of room for a landing strip.
The town of Lumberton had to deal with massive flooding after not one but two hurricanes. First, Hurricane Matthew flooded the town through the town's levee at the underpass that allows railroad tracks to run through. Officials asked CSX, the company that owns the land that the tracks are on, for a permanent solution of a floodgate so that this couldn't happen again. CSX responded by threatening to sue anyone who trespassed on their land. Despite two organizations having offered the funds to build the floodgate, locals were forced to build a temporary berm moments before Hurricane Florence hit, despite CSX stopping use of the tracks 24 hours before locals were allowed to construct the berm. It ultimately failed, but it lessened the devastation of the flooding. People ended up losing their homes twice, and it could have been avoided. The town of Fair Bluff was also decimated by the flooding from the hurricanes, leaving local businesses and industry wiped out, a swift increase in poverty, and locals desperately looking for ways to generate income.
This is what you call shake and bake. Because in case police come in, shake it, we about to do another one.
I know 2 years ago you could find shake and bake all around the country. And then they cracked down on Sudafed, so the production of meth went to Mexico. But now it's back here.
Boom, it's here.
The same shake and bake labs that once dotted the American landscape are making a comeback. But this time, they're funded and run by Mexican cartels.
Do you think the drugs are just going to get stronger and stronger?
Yes, they are.
By making it here, you don't have to cross the border. You can just make it.
Exactly.
Pablo explains that the cartel is experimenting with this direct-to-consumer model, which lowers production costs, eliminates the risk and cost of transport, and cuts out mules and middlemen.
We can't say exactly.
In another video, we will delve into the comment about the cartels being able to source the chemicals from pharmaceutical companies. If you remember what we said a bit earlier, one major industry in Florence is the pharmaceutical industry. About 10 miles further down, the same river flows through the Lumber River State Park. The park has trails around the river, but is quite desolate. I visited there a few months ago, and it was very creepy. The only people I saw coming and going looked suspicious, to say the least. Many carried duffel bags or plastic-wrapped packages. Again, from the park, it would be easy to access I-95 using those same rural back roads. Any goods or people could be transported from the Atlantic Ocean through this dense backwater river system to be unloaded, and rural roads could be used to transport those goods directly to I-95. From I-95, goods can head north toward New York and New Jersey. The further north they go, the more profitable illegal goods become.
Let's take a quick detour to talk about the difference between human trafficking and smuggling. This matters when talking about this corridor because it is how people and goods move on I-95. Human trafficking requires an act that starts the trafficking situation, means of exercising power over victims, and a reason for traffickers to recruit and harbor victims. Migrant smuggling is when a person or a group of people pay a smuggler to help them cross a border. Smugglers assist for monetary or equivalent payment. Smuggling requires crossing a border. While trafficking is always carried out with the intent to exploit, smugglers aren't interested in exploiting the people who are paying them. Smuggling may turn into trafficking, but typically, traffickers and smugglers avoid one another.
Either way, people need to be transported up north where more jobs and opportunities exist. Throughout the organized crime world, we see a trend of utilizing smaller networks of closely connected people, often in smaller towns, to do the transport that more powerful players used to focus on. They are less likely to be caught because of their local community ties as well as ties with law enforcement.
We think Wayne chose Florence because of its access to so many areas of transportation for trafficking. Yes, he trafficked students to his Bible college to work without pay. And after this, Wayne and his family fled to Myrtle Beach, which is the only reason I think he's there. The multiple means of transportation offered many opportunities for illegal money-making activities. I think being forced out of Florence wasn't part of the plan for Wayne or JP. And we think Mica was found in Lumber River State Park for a reason. Thank you for listening. Please comment, like, and subscribe. You can also check out our podcast, Fixate Today, Gone Tomorrow, for more content. Have anything you'd like us to fixate on? Reach out and let us know. Thanks for joining us. Disclaimer: we are not investigators, journalists, detectives, law enforcement, or historians. We are two neurodivergent ladies who just hyperfixate. Please do not take our opinions and ideas as statements of fact. All allegations are just that. We are not accusing anyone of anything, simply offering our interpretation of what we've researched.